Exploitation traumatizes a child in various ways. From not providing required environment for a healthy growth, inflicting physical torture, mental trauma to sexually maltreating a child in any possible way. Child abuse stunts the physical and mental growth of the child. While choking, burning, hitting and striking comprise physical abuse, any kind of sexual association in any form between a child and an adult results into sexual abuse. Emotionally, depraving a child, hurting his self-esteem or inflicting any other kind of mental trauma is a physiological abuse against the child. Child abuse may also include not providing required food, shelter, clothing, education and an environment to the child that is necessary for an overall development of his personality. Therefore sellers, if they wish to induce buyers to take more of a commodity than they are already doing, must reduce its price. If they raise its price, they will sell less. If there is a general falling off in demand due, say, to trade depression, sellers will either have to reduce prices or put less on the market. They will not be able to sell the same amount at the same price. Similarly with supply at a certain price, a certain amount will be offered for sale, at a higher price more will be offered, at a lower price less. If consumers want more, they must offer a higher price. If they want less, they will probably be able to force prices down. That is the first result of a change in demand or supply. Joe Cable, a psychologist and neuroscientist at the University of Pennsylvania. After he and his team recorded the subject's appetite for risk, they scanned their brains using various techniques that visualize anatomy and real-time activity. And they found that individuals who were willing to throw the sure thing $20 away for the chance of a higher payout were more likely to have larger amygdals, that's a region associated with processing fear, and weighing risk versus reward. They also saw in the gamblers' brains more synchronized activity between the amygdala and another region, called the medial prefrontal cortex. Pavlov demonstrated that this learning process could be used to make an association between an environmental stimulus and a naturally occurring stimulus. An American psychologist named John B. Watson soon became one of the strongest advocates of behaviorism. Initially outlining the basic principles of this new school of thought in his 1913 paper Psychology as the Behaviorist Views It, Watson later went on to offer a definition in his classic book, Behaviorism, 1924, writing, "Behaviorism that holds the subject matter of human psychology as the behavior of the human being." Little do the people realize the health hazards involved in consuming the fast foods. Food experts and bioscientists have highlighted the hazards involved in the regular use of the fast foods. They have cautioned people against the regular use of tinned food and the fast food. In the West, they call them the junk food. Naturally, fresh fruits and vegetables have more nutritional value. Similarly, freshly cooked breads, pulses and curries have more food value. The fast foods are not freshly cooked. They contain more fats than the ordinary meals. Nor can they match the homemade meals in taste and quality.
Corruption is a habit and hence everyone who is in important position, is susceptible to it. There are people who are ready to compete for those jobs with greater chances of corruption, and those who don't have the chance, expect to minimize the corruption and keep complaining about it. But prevention and eradication of corruption is an absolute requirement for better public life. The youth has to rise at their personal level in the fight against corruption, as it is a matter of individuals' integrity. Education is the key to eradicate corruption. Young people must say no to donations and private tuitions. We must promote a system of selection for jobs based on merit rather than based on bribes. African American defendants are 3 times more likely to receive the death penalty than white defendants, where the victims are white. Serious mental health issues are also common in defendants sent to death row. At least 1 in 10 prisoners executed in the U.S. between 1977 and 2007 had experienced severe mental health problems that meant they were literally unable to comprehend the crime they were alleged to have committed, and unable to understand the terms of their sentence and imminent execution. For example, Egyptian skulls dating from 2900 to 2750 BCE contain evidence of small holes in the jaw in the vicinity of a tooth's roots. Such holes are believed to have been drilled to drain abscesses. In addition, accounts of dental treatment appear in Egyptian scrolls dating from 1500 BCE. It is thought that the Egyptians practiced oral surgery perhaps as early as 2500 BCE, although evidence for this is minimal. An early attempt at tooth replacement dates to Phoenicia, modern Lebanon around 600 BCE, where missing teeth were replaced with animal teeth and were bound into place with cord. Space debris can also come from explosions in space or through missile tests to destroy satellites. Since space debris floats in low Earth orbit and at speeds of around 15,700 miles per hour, this makes it highly possible for satellites or a spacecraft to collide with the materials. According to the U.S. Department of Defense's Global Space Surveillance Network, more than 15,000 pieces of space debris larger than 4 inches have been tracked. It is also estimated that there are around 200,000 pieces sized between 0.4 and 4 inches, and millions of pieces smaller than 1 centimeter. They also exhibit wild behavior like their ancient ancestors, congregating during the breeding season to compete for mates, as well as migration and exploration that result in the use of new habitat areas. These behaviors have enabled the successful restoration of a population that was on the brink of extinction just over a century ago. However, some Yellowstone bison are infected with brucellosis, a livestock disease that can be transmitted to wild bison and elk as well as to cattle through contact with infected fetal tissue.
Yet this mature system has shown signs of swirling dusty debris that is not cold, as would be expected around stars of this age. Rather, the debris is warm, reinforcing that it was made relatively recently by the impact of two planet-sized bodies. A decade ago, observations of this system by ground observatories and NASA's Spitzer Space Telescope gave the first hints of this collision when the warm debris was first found. Now the Stratospheric Observatory for Infrared Astronomy, SOFIA, revealed the infrared brightness from the debris has increased by more than 10%, which is a sign that there is now even more warm dust. The driving force behind much of this change was an innovation popularly known as the Internet. Personal computers had become widespread by the end of the 1980s. Through a device called a modem, individual users could link their computer to a wealth of information using conventional phone lines. What lay beyond the individual computer was a vast domain of information known as cyberspace. Upon its release in 1983, the Apple Lisa computer was supposed to revolutionize personal computing. But interest in Lisa was minimal due to its nearly $10,000 price tag and the introduction of the much more affordable Macintosh a year later. Every year the 14th of November is celebrated as Children's Day in each and every school of India. Every year our school plans out something new to entertain their students. I look forward to this day because it is a fun day for all children. We children are given special treatment at home, school, college, etc. On the 13th of November, a circular was brought by the peon from the office of our principal. Our teacher read out the contents to us. It said that all children have to come to school tomorrow in home clothes without bags, bottles and tiffins, and attendance was compulsory. Our whole class was wondering why. Meanwhile, teacher continued and said that the next day being Children's Day it would be celebrated with pomp and show and with a lot of surprises. To keep our house and neighborhood clean is our utmost obligation, as it is the only remedy available for national health and hygiene. Dirt and refuse are the causes of sickness and sufferings, which ultimately give rise to diseases and epidemics. Plagues and epidemics that set in are called by filthy and insanitary hygienic conditions. So it is a prime duty of every citizen to ensure that public places and our surroundings are not littered. A great percentage of our population lives below the poverty line. Slums in metropolitan areas are inhabited by these poor people. Most of them have migrated from villages. Unable to earn a decent means of living, they live in huts having no proper sanitation or drinking water. It isn't what we look like that counts, it's how we feel inside. Our self-assessments are in the end solely based on our relative degrees of self-love and self-contempt. There are people of ideal proportions and exceptional beauty who cannot bear what they see in the mirror, and others who can contemplate a less than svelte stomach or a no longer so supple kind of skin with indifference and defiant good humor. And at a tragic extreme, there are heartbreakingly fine-looking people who starve themselves to ill health.